Hello everybody, I'm back with a mild fitness challenge. I thought it would be an interesting video and challenge for myself to do day flashing all the V2s slash some V3s in my climbing gym. A little background, I've been climbing for about 2 years now. I would say I'm probably a V4 climber. So the main objective for today's challenge is to just be really intentional about every one of my attempts. I have this tendency to burn out so fast because I try the climb over and over and over again without thinking through the strategy of it. The reason why I wanted to day flash all these climbs is because it forces me to be intentionally thinking about reading the route before I start, which is something I very much don't do. More secondary objective is just to not grade chase necessarily. I feel like I can get caught up in not sending all the V4s that I want to be sending, but I think there's a lot of value in just practicing and churning out those V2s and V3s, and to apply to what maybe your standard would be, let's just say you're at this grade, to climb maybe 2 grades underneath you. If you also wanted to use it as a conditioning training, that's also really good too. So it'll be in part like a 3-way kind of beneficial thing for me. It'll be conditioning, it'll teach me about intentionally reading the route, as well as just focusing not on the grade, but just focusing on doing the problem correctly. I will be setting not like an actual timer, but I'm going to be trying to take a break 4 minutes between each climb, because that literally forces me to not only rest, but also to spend that time reading the route. Alright, so here's my first climb of the day. My main objective for this climb was just to warm up my fingers, so I found a climb with some reasonable jugs. And I will note that my climbing gym doesn't base their grading off of V-scale, but instead off of a colored tag. So the green tags, which I'm going to be doing all in this video, are between a V2 and V3. Some of these climbs I've already done before, but there's others that were new sets, such as this one that I've never touched before, so this was my first attempt. I didn't know how to approach this problem because I've never really seen a knee bar in a green tag climb. So here's my second attempt after I've kind of figured it out and touched the problem. It really just required really jamming your knee bar in there. Otherwise, I felt like the biggest challenge of this climb was just getting to the sloper just above the lip. And then the rest of the climb was really, really solid after. There was really good jugs. Also, because it wasn't touched a lot, it wasn't all slimy. So it was pretty easy to get friction on. So this problem was a prime example of me just needing to read the route a little bit more. I've attempted this problem before, but I, to be honest, didn't really want to work too hard on it because it was a long problem. I typically am not one to enjoy long problems, but after reading the route correctly and utilizing all my footholds, I successfully did the problem, and I was able to register what I made mistakes on last time. So this is a big move right here where I needed to do a crossover and position my body correctly, but all previous attempts, I didn't do this crossover, so I was struggling a lot, but once I did that crossover, it was pretty smooth sailing from there. So this problem right here was actually something I was dreading because I had a lot of difficulty with this problem, mostly because it's overhung, and anything remotely overhung, I try to avoid, which I probably shouldn't, because I probably should work on that a little bit more. But it doesn't look extremely overhung, but at the top right there where I'm at gets pretty steep, and to reach and basically rocket up to that shelf looking thing is quite a reach. I don't know if I made it look hard, but definitely was kind of expecting that I wasn't going to get it this time, which was totally okay. But notice that I did a foot there, and that was vital for my next attempt. So I pretty much did the same exact beta. I didn't really even change beta. I think it was just a matter of me taking a longer break and kind of getting those first time attempt jitters out. So this problem right here definitely taught me a huge lesson, and on a previous day where I was doing this climb, I flashed it my very first go, but you'll see from the many many attempts that I take on this problem, I need to remind myself very often to not get too cocky when it comes to flashing a problem and thinking that you can do it again, because very evidently so, I was very much struggling on this last leg of it. Previously, when I flashed it, it was no biggie for me. I was even able to hold the top hold with ease and actually hold it for a few seconds. But I could just not figure this last part out. I could not put two hands on the finishing hold. And so you see, I just kind of skim the finishing hold, but I was never able to really grab on. So here's my second attempt going at the problem again. I think I was just a little bit shocked at this point because I totally did a different beta that didn't feel right. As you can tell, I'm just moving around so much and not being decisive. In all honesty, just making the problem so much harder than it needs to be. Once again, I think at this point I was just shocked and a little bit wanted to redeem myself because once again, this was a problem that I flashed when it first got put up. So I did the exact same beta here. And once again, I was still struggling with the top out. I don't know what it was I did the time I flashed it, but I definitely know I didn't do this. So here's me in short, I tried it again. This was my third attempt at trying it, and kind of the unspoken rule I said with myself is if it takes me more than or if I can't get it on my third attempt, I'm going to move on, just because I didn't want to exert all my energy on one problem because I'm still very early on in the session. But as you can see, at this point, I probably should have learned my lesson and tried a different beta, but honestly, it felt so right just doing this. And so I was pretty stubborn in that sense and possibly very tired from just doing this problem so many times. This one I goofed a little bit because I totally didn't use the second hand start, which is where my foot is at. This is another one that I flashed, but I don't know why I made this attempt so much more complicated looking. I guess I just don't feel the need to read the route again if I flashed it before, which is another reason why this challenge was a good reminder that really take the time to read the route, even if it's a problem that you think you'll breeze through, because you never know what can happen. This problem is kind of my, I would say it's my style of climb. I really like stemming problems that deal with a lot of flexibility. So that high foot is really something that is no biggie for me, and I know many others struggle with that start. But yeah, stemming is my thing. I really like pushing and using my triceps to get up the wall and kind of just, I guess you call it like being a spider going up the wall on all fours. This one has a big rocking motion, which I didn't do the intended way I think the route setters wanted, just because I feel more strongly with my right hand doing a lot of the work. So I tend to do so many more steps than I really need to do to adjust so that my right hand can get firm and solid on the problem. So this problem was kind of a tricky green tag, if I have to be honest. I think that having slopers and such small finger holds kind of threw me off a little bit because I don't see a lot of these type of holds on V2, V3 climbs. And as you can see, I even had to use my body weight to kind of fall into that side pull sloper thing. And then I have to do that once again on the far right one. Over here, I'm just adjusting a bunch on my feet because I did not feel confident in the feet at all. It was just little chips. So you can tell that I'm just jumping around and trying to really secure my foot and establish my foot. But after I reached over to get that sloper, notice how my fingers are barely even holding on, but that's where it really comes down to trusting your feet, because I was able to rock over on my right foot. Here I am again, just adjusting a bunch on my feet. This was another climb that I had a different beta when I first attempted it, but I guess today I wanted to do it a little differently, so it was cool that I was still able and managed to get it with some crazy footwork, and yeah. So this red traverse was something I was dreading to do. I typically, like, if there was one anti-climb, okay, there's many for me, but my main anti-climb is, I would say, overhanging traverses, just because I really don't think my stamina is that great. As of now, I could improve on that. But luckily, this one had jugs the whole way up, so I found it fairly moderate to manageable to do. This is just like a funny clip for me because my main climbing move is a heel hook, and as you can see, I definitely didn't need a heel hook for this finish, but I just was too adamant about getting a heel hook in. Here's another pretty straightforward climb. I don't know what these kind of pocket holds are called. They're not necessarily my favorite because they're dual texture. So the crease that's inside the hold it has good friction, and then the surrounding part is all plasticky, so you could slip off, but once again, pretty straightforward climb. This is another one of my styles of climbs, very stemmy and also very flexible, I guess. I think the main reason why I like these stemming problems is because there's so many different variations of approaching this climb. As you can see, I'm just stuck on the wall for a very long time because I'm trying to figure it out. And I think I was so stuck on how I did it in my previous attempt when I flashed it. But this attempt was very, very different. As you can see, I'm still moving around and stuttering. But yeah, back to my love for stemming problems. I feel like it's something that you could change beta all the time and still hopefully get to the top hold. So you don't necessarily have to do the same routine of movements all the time. So it keeps it really fun. But I definitely just wasted so much energy trying to figure out this climb, which is another prime example of me not utilizing the 4 minutes that I had to read the route/rest. I probably was just goofing off and looking at something else during that time. I can imagine that the setters probably set this climb to get newer climbers used to the feeling of just being overhung or being upside down on a higher part of the wall. Progress check. I have about 3 more left. How are you feeling?
Tired.
You mean you're feeling overjoyed?
Oh yeah, overjoyed. Tired.
This particular problem just reminded me that I don't have to use every single hold in the climb. Just because a hold is offered there and convenient to reach doesn't mean I have to actually use it. I think this is an ongoing struggle that I have while climbing. I don't utilize my full reach and in momentum. Instead, I just want to use every single hold, but what that results in is just getting really tired. This problem kind of shocked me a little bit too. I at one point had a full crimp, which I don't think I should be doing, but I just really wanted to put in a good effort to make sure I flashed this one, so that explains the full crimp and a lot of effort. This again has some slopers, which are definitely not my favorite holds, but all the more reason to really try to train that muscle or try to train that type of hold even more. 2 climbs left and I got a flapper. Meh. So this problem gave me a lot of issues, and I should have full well done this in the very start of my session because I knew this one was a really tough one the last time I tried it. But I don't know why I saved this until the very end because at this point I was already pretty exhausted. So I get through the first part of the climb not that easily, but this shelf I could not hold on to it for the life of me. So on my second attempt of this problem, I did essentially the same beta. This time I found a foot that I was missing prior, so I didn't have to throw myself too much. But that right there, I slipped, my foot completely just dry fired off, and I think I would have been more upset, but just because I was so tired, I was like, what the heck, I'm just gonna try to give as many burns on this problem as possible because it wasn't a matter of me not route reading it correctly. I think at that time it was just a matter of the strength and endurance to get through it. So as you can see from all the attempts, I get stuck on this shelf every single time. I think the mentality of not getting that problem really affected this climb right here, because this is another climb that I should very easily be able to do, but I think because I knew I was nearing the end of my session, this being my last climb, and the previous climb not being able to send it, I guess I let that seep into the frustration with this climb. I think the worst thing you can actually do for yourself when you're climbing is get frustrated. I genuinely believe the best part of climbing is just purely having fun and not worrying about the grades. Once again, that was one of my objectives, is not to grade chase. So my boyfriend gave me a different suggestion. Instead of going out to those far side poles, just try going for that jug to save a few more steps. I was able to successfully get that, but I don't think that I was prepared to actually get that to that point with that move. So once again, I was just not really thinking correctly while I was doing this climb. I was kind of just placing my foot wherever I wanted and not being intentional about my foot placements. So if I remember correctly, this attempt, I was just flat out pretty frustrated because this is going to be my third go on it, and as well as my last climb. I think at this point I just wanted to get all my climbs over with and done with. But luckily I was able to send it. I don't know what got through to me because I was still pretty exhausted, but super glad to have gotten that one because I knew it was one that I could do. So at the very end of the session, I went to return back to this problem that I wasn't able to send prior. And essentially the same thing happened where I was not able to hit that shelf. And once again, this is just another reminder that you could totally flash a problem and not be able to do it again. So it's always good to re-practice the problems that you've already done. To sum it up, I completed 15 out of 17 of the green tag climbs in just under 2 hours. I was climbing at Hangar 18 in orange, and the grades probably were from V2 to V3. Thanks for watching!